It's Fight Game Podcast Extra. We are going to talk about Forbidden Door, which is Sunday at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, right?
Pre-show 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock start time.
There we go. And I have two special guests with me who are kind of perfect to discuss AEW and New Japan. The first voice that you heard was Jeremy Firestone. He is doing the rounds this week, being one of our two New Japan, current New Japan Pro Wrestling folks, podcasters. He and Stephen Conway, they together do Speaking of Strong Style on our YouTube channel. Jeremy, what is up?
Not much, man. I am getting more and more hyped as the minutes go for this Forbidden Door show. It is in overdrive for me. How are you?
Good. I'm really good. I'm glad that we could all do this because we have another guy who is very vital to our network here, Scott Edwards, Scott E Wrestling. We just put out the latest episode of 5 Star on the Patreon. So if you are a Patreon member, go ahead and listen to that. And also we put the preview portion of that show on the YouTube channel. So you can see Scott on YouTube as well. Scott, what is going on?
Not much. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I couldn't be more excited for Sunday. Like, this is the most amped I've been for an AEW show. I don't even know. Like, this is a different level.
I love this because the way that we're going to do this preview is we're not going to go down the card match by match, though we'll talk about a lot of the matches. We'll get there by some of the questions that I'm going to ask. But much like I did for Double or Nothing, and what was the WWE show that was the same week as Double or Nothing?
Backlash?
Is that what it was?
I have no idea. That was my best guess.
I don't remember anymore.
Whatever that was, I'll remember it here.
It's all so long ago, Garrett.
Night of Champions. That's what
there
it was.
Oh.
I asked when we did those previews. I just asked questions to kind of get people's interest in the storylines, interest in the build, and you guys both kind of answered my first question already. But we'll get that out of the way. Number one, which is, compared to the AEW shows that we've seen this year, we're talking pay-per-view. So the San Francisco show, which was in, what was that, in March, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a Double or Nothing in Vegas. So how does Forbidden Door compare to your intrigue with both of those shows heading into those shows? Now, depending on whether you love those shows or not, after the fact, you may feel a certain way, but just go back into those times and thinking before the shows happen, what was your interest in? And then compare it to Forbidden Door. And Jeremy, we'll let you go first.
So I went to Revolution and I went to Double or Nothing and I went to both of those live, and I'm going to be watching Forbidden Door from tape. But I remember distinctly feeling a sense of something was missing in the build going into Revolution, and same with Double or Nothing with a couple of the key angles and stories going into it. I don't necessarily feel the same way about Forbidden Door, but I do feel that there are similarities to the build this time, but you don't need to fill the gaps in as much because of the New Japan contingent. The information that they're trying to give you regarding New Japan is very surface level, moment in time kind of all-star game mentality. So it's not as much of a hindrance for my enjoyment of watching it. But once you get to the show itself, much like Revolution, much like Double or Nothing, you're going to end up with a show that you're going to have very little complaints about, in my opinion.
And so a side B of that question, last year's build, I think a lot of people were a little frustrated with it being so last second in making of the matches. And that is just because of the fact that you're working with a partner. This isn't like Tony Khan's dream show. It's like he's working with another company. He's working with another booker to make sure that you're not spoiling other things that are happening with that company. But do you think that they are doing a better job at promoting this show versus last year?
Yes, I definitely do. I've changed my expectations a lot because when you look at that card from last year, you had about 13 matches, 3 or 4 singles matches, I think maybe 3 on the men's side, and just a lot of matches of people thrown together because of the mess that you have. This year, I think we have about 8 or 9 matches so far, and a majority of them are singles matches, which means a lot of the key guys from New Japan aren't necessarily on the card or may not have a prominent spot, which makes things a little interesting. But I think the build for a moment in time marquee match lineup, this is knocking last year out of the park.
My Wikipedia card shows 11 matches plus a pre-show match. So that's 12. And so that's a good number. And I wonder if they're going to add more to the pre-show or not. But Scott, compared to the 2 pay-per-views this year, how do you compare this? Are you more excited, less excited? What's your feeling?
Oh, I'm so much more excited. Going into those other 2 shows, I remember Revolution, it was like a feel of, okay, you got a big Danielson match, that's exciting. And then that Double or Nothing show, I remember like the conversation around the time was, well, it's an AEW pay-per-view. It'll be good.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't feel that way going to Forbidden Door. Obviously, it's going to be good, but like, I don't need to have that feeling in the back of my mind to make me feel better and get amped about it. I just look at the card and you're like, this is what a AEW and New Japan card is supposed to be. Like, without getting into the matches, this is why the Forbidden Door idea was so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it blows last year's out of the water. Obviously, everyone being healthy, protecting Mr. Danielson at all costs specifically, that has been the smartest decision by them, because this is what we're all waiting to see. I mean, they're giving us dream matches, crazy matchups, great tags. It's everything I hope for and more. Actually, it's definitely more, because I did not expect us to get one of those matches.
So you both, I'm already veering off of my script. I wrote down 5 questions that I wanted to ask, knowing that just the nature of this discussion, I was going to think of things, but you guys both have a pretty good understanding of the New Japan fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not a New Japan card. This is more for the AEW fans who are also New Japan fans. Jeremy, do the New Japan fans in Japan really care that much about this show?
I think it's just another card for them. They're getting cards every day on TV Asahi, New Japan World. They had 6 shows last week with the day off. 2 of them were televised on World. This is a pay-per-view for them over in Japan. This is just another day of business for them over there. They're definitely intrigued because they have the AEW programming over there. I think Shingo's a commentator for them over there doing that kind of thing. So it's not really as much for the Japanese fans, maybe the diehards, but this is purely a North American interest. Almost, I feel like this is Tony Khan's personal booking. Like, this is everything that he always wanted to do on a card, and he is just getting it all knocked out. All these singles matches down the line.
Do you have anything to add to that, Scott?
No, I think Jeremy nailed it. It's very much for the North American fans more than anything, and I think you could feel that, with like the Ospreay Omega rematch. So many people, I think, are more excited for that match than maybe New Japan diehards,
right?
Because it's like, oh, that gets to happen here now instead of over in Japan. It's going to have a very different feel to it. So I think that is definitely, Jeremy absolutely nailed that.
All right, another question here on Dynamite. They just displayed a graphic to show us that CM Punk was wrestling. Just random. He's going to face Kojima. Now, there's a lot of talk about him facing Kenta, and Kenta has been out there on social media pushing that, whether or not that was supposed to happen. I know some people have said that it was in the cards, and even on the Fight Game podcast, if you heard that on Wrestling Observer, John LaRocca said that he had sort of heard maybe that it was a booking issue of who could actually win the match, as to maybe why that it didn't happen. But now they have Punk and Kojima. There is one side of the fan base who is very happy with what is going on, and they said, hey, CM Punk didn't even really need to be on this show. And there's another side, and this is kind of where I sit more from the like, well, we should just promote the hell out of everything to see how much interest we could get. And I really do think that they should have pushed this as CM Punk's first singles match. Like, I'm not talking, they may do that tomorrow or later today on Collision, but I'm more from the perspective of if we're going to sign this match and talk about it, like he's got to cut a promo. We need to see some video of Kojima and when he was in his heyday. And I just sensed that, okay, maybe this was kind of a last minute thing and they didn't really have anything set up for it. But Scott, we'll start with you. Knowing what we know that Punk is back, how would you have booked Punk for this show? Would you have done it sort of, like they did, kind of like ho-hum, or would you have really tried to figure out a way to get him into, this idea of like, oh, this is the dream show, and of course CM Punk should be involved in it?
Yeah, I would have went with the latter there of kind of really giving a focus to CM Punk because you could focus on last year, right? It was supposed to be him and Tanahashi from what we know. And that was kind of my hope for this year. I was hoping Tony Khan was angry and it's like, I'm getting my match.
Yeah.
That didn't end up being the case. And I think MJF versus Tanahashi is actually a great matchup in that own respect. But I would promote this as much as possible. It's still CM Punk. It's still his first singles match back. And truthfully, because I don't know if I'll get to say this, Satoshi Kojima in 2023, I'd much rather see than Kenta in 2023.
Interesting.
So this is a win for me. Unless Kenta steps in a Noah ring, I don't want to see Kenta wrestle all that much. So
Kenta's actually a little hotter than he's been, at least in recent memory, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy Bullet Club stuff, that's
what do you
not
think, Jeremy?
The new Savages, I should say.
I thought Kojima was a total homer pick for Tony Khan because, in the newsletter, the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he talked about how he was one of the few people that had won the GHC, the Triple Crown, and the IWGP. And so having him wrestle CM Punk, sure, fine. If you want CM Punk on this card, you didn't have him last year. And that's totally fine. For me, the reason why Kenta isn't wrestling Punk is because there's probably some drama about the fact that he's scheduled to wrestle Eddie Kingston for a title in about a week and a half. And so if he's doing a loss to CM Punk before that match, there's a lot of politics behind that probably people don't want to navigate. Would it be great if they had a match one day? Sure. Do I care if they have a match one day? Not particularly. It's a move, not a match that people want to see.
You know what's interesting about this, and I didn't even really think about this until now. So again, veering from my script and kind of want to get your thoughts. This is really about two matches, as we know. The two main events, whichever one is going to be the main event. They were saying on Dynamite like Okada and Danielson was going to be the main event. Omega and Ospreay, as we all know, I think it's probably on a lot of people's lists as match of the year so far. And if you were to book Punk in a way that made his match, let's say it's not quite those two matches, but let's say it's the third most interesting match or whatever. I do wonder if they thought, it kind of takes away. I don't want him to take away from Omega because we have to sort of keep these folks, not frustrated with each other. And then, maybe Punk says something in a promo that frustrates somebody. And so I didn't think about that until now. But do you think that part of the calculus from Tony Khan is just like, Punk's going to be on the show. The focus is on Omega. The focus is on Danielson. We don't want to take away from that focus. And then the next show or the show after that, the focus can be on Punk and maybe Omega steps in the background a little bit. What are your thoughts around the politics of that stuff? And Scott, you can go first.
I've been thinking about this kind of all day, actually. I think I just the realization hit me that this is the first show with Kenny, the Bucks, and Punk all at the same building at the same time. And I think you're definitely onto something in that maybe, and it's because you already have the two big signature matches. You don't need a third, CM Punk versus Tanahashi, CM Punk versus name another guy. You don't need that to make this card bigger. It's not going to sell more tickets by any means. So trying to keep everyone happy per se, or keep everyone calm, definitely isn't a bad idea. I'm intrigued by how they set up the card. Like, are they going to have Punk wrestle first and then like get him out of the building and then be like, all right,
that's a lot of people think that that's going to happen. Like he's
I
just
wouldn't
going to bail out.
Opening the show with CM Punk is not a bad choice by any means, because him and Kojima kick off the show, have a nice old fashioned match. A lot of people have been posting that clip, by the way, of him and Samoa Joe, where he's Kojima and stuff like that. So I'm actually happy that they're running that back. They're not going to play that clip on the show, but they should play it tomorrow on Collision. I think that would be ideal.
Jeremy, thoughts?
Man, I just think Tony Khan has made so many great decisions regarding his roster and how he hooked them up left and right that this can't possibly go wrong on a major production with another promotion. Actually, the whole thing that made me laugh and that whole escalate was the Kazuchika Okada quote about whether he would have a match with CM Punk. And he's like, I don't know. I'm kind of friends with the Young Bucks. And
yeah, this dude gets dressed in their gear when he's back in the locker room.
Do you know there's a second part of that quote?
Yeah,
please.
I did see it. I did see it.
He said, but if the fans want it,
yes.
Yeah, I'll have the match with CM Punk. And I was like, why are we skipping that part of the quote? It was all one sentence.
Yeah.
That's not the part of the get people talking.
Yeah, it's not the sexy part of the quote. It's not the one that people love or love to aggregate.
But that's going to be the real catalyst for all this. It's not going to be Tony Khan making the decision what's best for business based off within its own company. It's going to be the outside factors of what other companies are willing to do and what matches he can make based off of the behavior of his stars and who wants to work with them. That's going to be the real driving factor in all this.
All right, let's move along here. We do have title matches on this show. We do have big title matches on this show as far as the big belts are concerned. I don't know if people see those title matches as like giant matches in their eyes, but Scott already mentioned MJF against Tanahashi, and then we also have Sonata against Jungle Boy. What does it say to you guys that these, really important titles are kind of like going to be in the mid card on this show? Does it say anything, or, if people are kind of wondering about that, are they thinking too much into it? I just don't. You don't often see big time wrestling shows where the titles are not that important and they're kind of afterthoughts a little bit on this show. Jeremy, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was kind of struggling with the MJF one for a while because it really felt the U.S. title, the New Japan United States title, was the most important title being defended in this show. And that the way that New Japan typically does their titles, that the IWGP title almost always main events every card.
Mm-hmm.
You also have MJF in there, but MJF match does not feel consequential to anything other than a bucket list item, because I think secretly MJF is a really big New Japan fan. There are things in his matches that just give it away that this guy loves that little indie fed from Japan that he likes to talk about all the time. I think he's going to be incredibly motivated to have a great match with Tanahashi, and it could be a sleeper match we're all talking about afterward. I also think the Jungle Boy and Sonata match will surprise some people. I'm not sure if the charisma will come out the way people are demanding that they see the charisma from both of those guys. But I think that they're going to be incredibly enthusiastic about putting forth a match, and people say, okay, I wasn't expecting that from those two. That's generally my feeling about those two matches.
What do you think, Scott?
I think these are better ideas for world title matches this year than they were last year in terms of having Moxley and Tanahashi and then that fatal four-way. I think this is the better way to book them because you don't have these high expectations. Because you have those other two matches to rely on, right? Ospreay, Omega, Okada, and Danielson. These two matches now have the chance to surprise people and wow people. I think Sonata and Jack Perry is going to make a lot of people just sit there and be like, "Oh, I I didn't appreciate your game. Okay." Like I think that's going to be what happens, especially for Sonata, because I think Sonata works best in fast-paced matches. That's what Jack Perry's going to give him. Those two are, I think, are going to go 15 minutes or so and absolutely tear down the house, and people are going to love it. And then maybe you get Jack Perry's heel turn that they're clearly building to. That Doki match for on Rampage as a preview or as a way to build to it was great.
Yeah, I still need to watch that. I saw some clips.
Highly recommend. And then the MJF Tanahashi match, yeah, I'm sold that that's going to be fantastic because it is the guy calling New Japan an indie fed against the ace of New Japan. You can't, it's so simply done, but it's going to be great because I think Jeremy's absolutely right. I think MJF absolutely can't wait for this match. He won't ever say it.
No,
but he's definitely excited for this one.
This is an American wrestling thing, but the other thing that slightly annoys me about these matches, because I hold the IWGP championship like higher than just about any other belt. And if it's on Okada, it would be the main event belt because it's on Sonata in the US. They can put it in the middle. But to me, the thing that I also slightly don't like is both of these matches are kind of backdrops to angles. MJF and Adam Cole, Jungle Boy, and whatever is going on with Hook or with Luchasaurus or with Christian. It does seem like these are steps in an angle rather than sort of the end all be all. And my preference for matches like this is that that's the most important thing, is the match and the build and the beef. Now, this is more of an all-star game kind of show. I've heard people call it an all-star game. And I very much understand that. And sometimes when you do matches like this, often because of a lack of build, the interest isn't there. And that might just be what this is for me. I'm very interested to see MJF and Tanahashi. I'm less interested to see Sonata and Jungle Boy. And the reason, and I mentioned this in our Discord, is because I see Jungle Boy as the fourth guy in the pillars, and you had three pillars face one pillar, and the one pillar won. And so those three other pillars just kind of look like, oh, okay, like you're just not ready for prime time. So I see Jungle Boy as not ready for prime time. And I think in order to get an IWGP title shot, you should either be on the climb, you know, somebody who's on the rise, and then you lose to the champ and you get kind of knocked down a peg, or somebody who's just a giant star. And Jungle Boy doesn't seem like those two to me, but that might just be me sort of, you know, looking at it because I hold that belt in such high prestige. So that's kind of why I'm down on that Sonata and Jungle Boy match. But then, you know, you have some very smart people. John Muse is like, this is a business agreement. They're giving you one with Tanahashi. You need to give them one. And my preference would have been, I would have given them another one instead of Jungle Boy. As much as I like Jack and as much as I root for Jack, I would have given them another one. So that's just my take. And I think that's probably why I'm a little bit more down on that match than most people, because again, I fully expect it to be good. And people are going to be chatting, you know, in chats going like, see, everyone's so down on this match. To me, I understand it's going to deliver. It's just the build to me, the importance. How do you raise the stakes for both of these guys? It's probably not Jack Perry that raises the stakes of this match, I don't think.
One of the things that I've been struggling with trying to like comprehend and get out there is that Sonata has made his name off of beating Okada when no one else could. And then after that, there hasn't been really a lot beyond beating Hiromu Takahashi, beating Yota Tsuji, going into the G1. There hasn't been those key clutch moments that people talk about. Oh, yeah, Sonata is the guy. But New Japan thought just beating Okada would be enough to transfer that aura forward. For some reason, it hasn't been. But this guy is coming off to the New Japan audience as the guy right now, even though it is not transferring in any way, shape, or form onto AEW programming.
Yeah. That's part of it, right? That's definitely part of it. All right. Before we move on to the next question, I wanted to give Scott an opportunity in the middle of this show to hype up some of the stuff that he's going to be doing over the next week or so. Like I said, we dropped the show on the Patreon today. There's a new preview on the YouTube channel. What else is coming from you that people can look forward to on this network?
A lot. So this week on the 5-Star Joshi show, I'll be reviewing the pay-per-view, which was a big talking point. Stardom has a pay-per-view the same day as Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
So I will be reviewing that, but that will be not a live review. I've decided to kick that because I have overbooked myself for Sunday and I do not want to record Monday night after work. So I'm going to be honest with everybody. That's the reality. So
Man,
instead, they have another
got to work smart.
Exactly. They have another pay-per-view on July 2nd, which has title matches and all the good stuff like that. So I will be doing a live review on July 3rd, Monday, probably around 5:30 p.m. Eastern. That will be on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. So make sure to check that out. You can hear my full review on the Patreon this week. Probably some clips as well on the YouTube if you're looking for that. I will also be doing my annual 5-Star Joshi Show 5-Star Grand Prix preview. That'll be live on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel as well. I don't have an official date for that, so wait and see. We're going to get closer. Still waiting on the blocks, but it's tournament season in Japan. Jeremy knows. Jeremy knows it's very much tournament season in Japan. I believe at one point, the 4 biggest companies in Japan are running tournaments at the same time. It's G1, N1, Victory, 5-Star Grand Prix, and I think Dragon Gate's running its King of Gate tournament at the same time.
That sounds right.
Which is just absolutely absurd. But I'll be previewing that. And I'll also be doing another Q&A, which will get up hopefully the same week as that Midsummer Champions review of July 3rd. So look forward to all that. Content machine.
Yeah, and the easiest way to get a little notification on when Scott's going to go live is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then when you get the little notification that, oh, the show, you can even set a little reminder through YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, Jeremy, you're going to be on with the Power Bombshell.
I am too.
Oh, you both are going to be on.
I just
haven't revealed. They haven't
There's a
given their
third
full
guest,
guest
right?
list. You're dropping some hot skills here, Garrett.
Yeah, hope they don't get mad at me. So the Power Bombshells, because they record on Sunday morning, and when AEW runs a Sunday night show, because they run early in the day, it's the pre-show to the pay-per-view. So the Forbidden Door pre-show at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Sam is running solo with guests because Mel is going to be at the show, so she'll be there live, so she won't be able to do the YouTube show. But Sam has some guests, so I guess we can don't tell Sam that we exposed at least 2 of the guests. But there's one other one that she had. I literally have no idea who's going to be on.
I will tell you that I think the official title of the show for me is Speaking of the 5-Star Power Bombshell.
Oh wow, there you go. So same thing. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is in the show notes of this podcast, and you'll get to see these 2 smiling faces. Now, I'm a little worried because Jeremy just told us that he's not going to be getting much sleep this weekend. So I don't know if
it's going to be a party pre-show, everybody. We're going to get crazy. You want to get crazy? Let's get crazy.
I don't know if is it Red Bull, or is it Coke Zero? How are you going to stay awake through all this craziness?
Well, I will be doing another podcast tomorrow night, and then I'll be getting some sleep and, getting up with the rooster, walking the dog, getting some coffee, and then liquid energy through the show, take a nap, and then join up for the Forbidden Door festivities later on that day.
Yeah,
Pete said my future.
Yeah.
I mean, I should point out I'm waking up for a Stardom pay-per-view on Sunday morning at 3 a.m.
You crazy.
then recording at 9 for a different show, then jumping on the Power Bombshells. Then I'll get a nap hopefully in there before Forbidden Door, but we'll have to.
It's a busy weekend for podcasting.
I hope you can nap, because there are some people who can't nap. Thankfully for me, I can just lay down and close my eyes, and it's pretty boom for a nap if I'm really tired. So hopefully a nap is in your future. But okay, now let's get back to this preview. Let's talk about the Sting and Darby partner here. Now, you guys would know better than me. So the match is the Le Suzuki Gods, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki against Sting, Darby Allin, and TBA. Now, I'd say based off of the feedback that I've seen, the one who most people want to see is Hiromu, it sounds like. And then maybe some sort of Shingo and Naito after that. But what do you think, Jeremy? What is actually doable, and what is something that you think that they may have up their sleeve?
Okay, so last year it was supposed to be Sting and Darby and Shingo and Hiromu, the dudes with the attitude.
Yeah.
Hiromu got sick, and he ended up not being on the card. So Shingo was the third man for them last year. This year, I think it's Naito. I think it's Naito because of the Muta link between Sting and Muta, and the link between Naito and Muta from their Wrestle Kingdom match to the unofficial retirement of Muta this year with Masahiro Chono and Naito and the whole deal. It makes too much sense that it is Naito as the reveal, and then they throw in an LIJ match after they reveal Naito, because he wasn't there last year. He's the last big name that they can reveal on Collision before they take it home and say, there, that's your final big sell before any surprise we have on the show. It just makes too much sense to have Naito and then do an LIJ match with Yoda, Shingo, Hiromu versus whoever they want to destroy, and fill out this card. Finally.
Yeah, and Naito and Jericho had some stuff in Japan, so that kind of makes sense as well. Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, Naito was my pick. Once they said that, Jericho's made enemies, I think that kind of tipped the cap to Naito over, say, a Shingo or Hiromu, because of their past with the IC title. And I think getting Naito on this show, he wasn't on it last year. That was the big complaint last year. I remember that vividly. There was no reason to have Naito on it, and I hope he wears his t-shirt. That's all I'm saying. I hope he wears the t-shirt the entire match, because that's the Naito I want to see.
If that music hits on Collision, Naito's music, the place is going to go bonkers. It's going to be like Okada on Dynamite.
And this is a little bit off of topic, but I'm very interested. What is your strategy going to be with Collision on a weekly basis? Like, are you guys going to try and watch this show live week to week, or is it just going to be a Sunday morning, Saturday night, turn the DVR on, get rid of the commercials? Let's try and watch this show in an hour and 15 minutes. Like how are you going to do it, Scott?
That is exactly how I'm going to do it. I'm going to record that with DVR, and I will watch it at my leisure, whether it be Saturday night when I get home, and start to relax, or Sunday morning, because it's just a tough ask. I'll admit I can't watch any shows live. I need the DVR. I'm just terrible with commercials, unless it's the picture-in-picture. I can get through that. But yeah, Collision, I think I have to watch it recorded, because honestly, after the first week, I forgot that Collision was a weekly television show. So when they were planning for this week, I was like, oh, right. That's a weekly thing I have to get used to. So yeah, that's the way I'm going to go about it.
What about you, Jeremy?
Garrett, if you know, I'm beholden to my wife, my life, my work, and my side hobbies. Saturday is a big ask. If I'm around and I'm exhausted and I feel like watching some wrestling, I'll turn it on. But I'm not making this a weekly appointment television. It's just not happening.
It's so interesting, because I don't know. I mean, I haven't talked to a ton of people yet, but nobody has yet told me that they plan to watch live every week. And that is really the hook for Dynamite to me. That's the only show I watch live every week. And the reason I do is because it's a little bit of a community watch. Mm-hmm. And, I want to see what's going on. Tony Khan, is going to have surprises, and he's going to drop some news. So you kind of want to watch live. And I would say, about 50% of the time, I'm watching the show within about 10 minutes. And by the end, I'll catch up. And, sometimes I just can't watch it live because of whatever reason. But this one with Collision, I just feel like it's going to be so hard. And I'm not going to have that encouragement from the rest of the community who's like, nope, we got to watch this live. This is a live show. 5 o'clock on a Saturday, little tough for me. So I'm just very interested. If people are listening to this and they're like, nope, I'm watching it live every Saturday. It's going to be my show. You shoot me an email, gg@fightgamemedia.com. I'm really interested to see how people are going to do this. And the thing is my guess is I'm going to like this show generally more than I like Dynamite, just because it's more my speed and my style of wrestling. It's just the slower storytelling. If the first episode is any, is any tease for us, that's kind of my style of wrestling. And I think that's why I really enjoyed the first show, sans the Luchasaurus match. But that's my one gripe. Like, put that guy on Dynamite. Like,
it does feel like a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning kind of show.
Yeah, I mean, very much so.
And I don't know if they take that into account when they're like, okay, we know that there's going to be a +3 on this for the next couple of days. People are just going to be catching it, and we need to be at peace with that. It is not an instant gratification rating show. And they're not going to be falling under the scrutiny of the ratings, because on a Saturday, you're not going to get that until Monday or Tuesday anyway. So,
though Tony could, instead of doing the Tony Khan special announcement on Dynamite, he could start doing it on Collision and try and see if he can get more people to make it appointment viewing. Because that's part of what is the hook for Dynamite, is like, we know that's where you're going to get all the new stuff and all the information is on Dynamite. He could do that with Collision. One show he did not do that was Rampage, and we know what happened to Rampage. Rampage has just become sort of like we're just going to put, interesting wrestling matches on and see how that works.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
That CM Punk Satoshi Kojima should have been an special announcement for Collision. That would have done great. We got a special announcement about CM Punk and the Owen Cup.
And maybe, now that I think of it, maybe the reason they don't do it is because they got the other surprise with Sting and Darby announcing their partner. So I don't know. I still would have liked to see the Punk thing handled a little bit more importantly. But that's gonna be interesting to see how he handles that Saturday show, and if he can make it feel as like must-see live TV as Dynamite. He's done a really good job with that with Dynamite, as far as making you want to watch that show live. All right. What is the one match, and Jeremy, you can go first on this one, that might be a little bit under the radar, that you're just like, I can't wait for this match. This is the one that I'm waiting for. Obviously Danielson, Okada, Omega, Ospreay, everyone wants to see those matches. But what's like, this one's a little bit, I don't think people are talking about this one enough.
MJF Tanahashi.
There you go.
I think that's gonna surprise a lot of people. A lot of people are down on Tanahashi because they think that his knees are so bad that he can't go on any night. That's not true. He has bad nights, but he also has excellent nights, and he knows how to work around his limitations. The story around it, people aren't quite into it as much as they should be, but this match is going to have people talking when it's done, I think.
Can we send Tanahashi to Germany, get the blood spinning going on for his knees?
Get the Rey Mysterio treatment?
This is what the basketball players do, right? They get a little life back into their knees with this blood platelet treatment or whatever it's called. Let's do that for Tanahashi. Give him a couple years of life back in those knees before we send. He sort of gets sent off into the OG sunset there. Scott, what about you?
Blackpool Combat Club, Shota Umino, and Konosuke Takeshita versus the Hung Bucks. I'm going to call them the Hung Bucks until they are not anymore. Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii. That's just 10 guys that are going to go out there and put on a show. I don't care how much time they get. I'm probably like the biggest Shota Umino fan. in America. Like I love that guy, and
He's great.
so happy they got him on this show, because last year Forbidden Door, I thought that was like his big moment to ahead of coming back from Excursion, that people were like, oh, this guy is still good. Rev Pro didn't ruin him. Sorry, I had to get that thing in there because Rev Pro, him and Rev Pro is really tough. But Takeshita being on the show is really exciting to me, because I think he is just.
What did Moxie call him?
Tall, dark, and sexy.
Yes. And I think it's just going to blow the doors off. If they want to open with that match, I wouldn't blame them, unless they open with CM Punk and Satoshi Kojima for other reasons. But I would get that match on early, because that's going to set the bar, I think, for the whole night.
I'm so intrigued by the Eddie Kingston Moxley best friends, bitter enemies storyline, whatever's going to happen. I'm so intrigued. Good. And how about the promo on Dynamite where, like, a lot of wrestling creative, like the whole bloodline thing is this long storyline, very beautifully woven in and out, just to say that the Usos don't like their cousin Roman. Like, it's just been years, and now we get to the climax, and they just don't like him. He's mean to them. Then they're it's a civil war. Eddie Kingston goes out there and he just goes, I hate Claudio. And that's it. You're like, okay, I get it. There's like beef there. I get it. I believe it. I didn't need anything other than you saying it, 2 weeks in a row to let me know that you just hate this dude and you want to fight this dude and you want to beat him up and you're going to take some punches. How many accidental sort of stiff shots, like bruises, hard way blood? Like, I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of that in this match, because these guys are going to be so juiced. They hit hard. Mox gets gets blood. He doesn't get as much blood these days as he was getting at points over earlier this year, but I just have a feeling.
Wait until July in Japan. He's gonna be he'll be bloody as hell by then.
Oh, I know that's a crazy match. But we should do a counter. Like, I don't think I think that was a little bit missed. He kind of punched him in the face on that one. I think that's gonna be the highest of all the matches on the show.
Yeah, they're gonna be pretty vicious, and there could be some black and blue among all those guys. Scott, you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that match. That match is going to slap. You're absolutely
right. The moment like that, the Blackpool Combat Club popped up with Takeshita on the screen the other day, I was like, all right, I'm in. I knew they were going to face the Elite. Didn't matter who else was in the match. And then they just got better and better and better. I just can't wait for when the match is going on and it's like Eddie Kingston and Wheeler Yuta in the middle of the ring. He's like, all right, tag Claudio in, like, get out of the ring. And then they just go at it, because that's the beauty of Eddie Kingston. He's very direct. Storytelling's done in so many different ways in wrestling. Eddie Kingston's way is, all right, I want to fight you, and I want to fight you now. And I think I hate
your guts. I don't like your face, and I want to fight you. Wait, so for those who don't know what the original beef is, like, what's the story as to why Eddie hates Claudio so much?
I think it has to do with their
Eddie wouldn't get put over by Cesaro and Chikara a long, long time ago. Wouldn't do the business. Left. Cesaro didn't do the job for Eddie to put him over, and Eddie had resentment ever since, especially since Cesaro made comments about his fitness, about his dedication, a number of things that Eddie has taken issue with over the years and has not been able to let it go. Rightfully or wrongfully so, not for me to say, but.
So it's not like the NBA where all the beefs are like related to gambling or girlfriends or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it is a wrestling politics kind of situation. Yeah. Wow. It's not like we've seen a lot of that lately in this company. But hey, he's using it for the real beef. I know they had the ROH stuff, and now Eddie's back, and I know he's going to be gone too, because he's going to be in the G1. So we'll have a little bit of time for him to shine here and then we're gonna miss him, and then he'll be back after the G1. I just hope he doesn't get hurt again. That would not be great.
I wonder if we're getting Moxley and Eddie, or Moxley and Eddie at All Out in Chicago. That might be something that they're circling.
I kind of want the story to be told, a little bit longer than that. But if the peak is there, then let's go for it for sure. All right, this is a hard one. Out of the two big matches, which is the main event to you? And we'll go Scott first.
Okada and Danielson. First time ever, probably
Easy?
last time ever.
You didn't have to think about it?
It, to me, is like the truest form of a dream match. Like the best of North America for a lot of people against the best of Japan. 5 years ago, I didn't think this was going to be possible because I thought, Daniel Bryan would go off into the sunset in WWE. 7 years ago, he was retired. So I definitely didn't think it was going to happen. Now it's happening in this ring. Okada, in my opinion, is the best he's ever been, which is just unbelievable to say, seeing that this guy's a Observer Hall of Famer and has the greatest run in New Japan history as IWGP heavyweight champion. But I think he's the best he's ever been. For me, I've seen Okada and Omega. Not Okada. Well, I have seen Okada and Omega. Ospreay and Omega. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I know how great that is. And I know it's going to be great all over again. I don't know how great Danielson Okada is going to be. I know it's going to be great. But how great?
Yeah.
How many stars is Dave going to give him? Are we going to hit 7, 8, 9? That's what I want to know.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, because a side B question to that was, do you think if it doesn't reach that 6-star level that people are going to be disappointed in? Like, let's say it's a 5-star match. Let's say it's as good as MJF and Danielson. What did Dave give that? 5.25, 5.5, something like that. Whatever that is. Is it
5+? Sure.
Yeah. Let's say it's 5 or
Right.
5.25. Do you think people will be disappointed?
Yep.
Because the expectations are so high.
Yep.
I kind of agree with you.
Same way with when Omega and Ospreay was happening. Remember, everyone's like, if it's not the greatest match of all time, is it a failure? And I was like, what? Do you hear yourself? No, I think if it doesn't hit 6, people are going to be like, oh, it was a disappointment, which is ridiculous to say out loud.
Yeah.
But I think that is a real thing for wrestling fans.
Honestly, I think if it doesn't hit 6, people will blame Dave rather than blame the match.
That's probably true.
Yeah, I'm just I think that is a thing for the hardcore fans that is going to be sitting there is, if it doesn't get to 6, it doesn't get to 5.75, who's to blame? Why? Oh, do these guys? Oh, they didn't want to work.
What went wrong?
If it was in the Tokyo Dome, it would have been better. Like that kind of conversation, right?
That's the one.
And look, maybe if it was a Wrestle Kingdom match, maybe Okada's definitely going to see that as like a higher stature match than just an AEW pay-per-view. So there's a possibility there. So yeah.
Though I will say Okada wants this match. Like he's said it on record multiple times.
We know Danielson wants it.
Danielson's first match he asked for was Ospreay when he walked out. I don't know if that would be a smart idea these days.
I think it'll happen one day, though. I think that match is happening for sure.
By the way, I didn't mention the match that I was kind of, the under the radar match for me. Now, this is a little bit of a bias because I really like this person and I know him a little bit, is Filthy Tom and Adam Cole.
Oh yeah.
It's I've said this many, many times. The way that I watch wrestling, people get frustrated with it because I don't really care who wins. I don't have favorites. I watch it for, here's what happened and this is good for business. Oh, this was not good. This is not going to be great for business. I have a rooting interest in this match because I so badly want Filthy Tom to be really good because I want him to, get something out of this, obviously. And I think Adam Cole is a really good dance partner for him, for Tom's style. And I'm just hoping like that this match just over delivers, and so I will be rooting for that during this show.
In my mind, I consider this an excellent consolation prize for Filthy Tom after not getting to be in the G1 this year. Because
that was interesting. Why was that?
I think they just had a huge field of people, and they only had 2 people from the outside of New Japan. And even with all the young lions, the war dogs that they wanted to bring in, all the people that they've just kind of glowed up, Tango Loa's back. There just wasn't room. And it sucks to say, but there just wasn't. Even with 32 people, there wasn't room for him. And he wasn't going to be winning a whole lot of matches, even if he was. So, better days ahead for him.
So you can answer the question. Is it Okada Danielson for you as well?
Yeah, I think so. I've been going back and forth with a couple of scenarios with the Ospreay Omega match, and I'll pose it to you at the end of what I was going to say. But Okada Danielson is just going to be those 2 guys in the middle of the ring. Very little drama, fanfare outside of just the aura of the 2 guys and the energy. And of all big matches, very little do you need more than the aura of the 2 big stars to deliver everything that you need. And so I think that's going to be the main event, because it's just the energy and the once in a lifetime factor. Now with the Omega Ospreay match, there's a couple of things that they haven't paid off in storyline over the last couple months. At the end of Double or Nothing, Omega said he was going to go to Japan and get some friends. Now, Callis has spoken to Ospreay and told him that he's going to have security and backup for him at Forbidden Door. Are we very quietly getting a Kota Ibushi backup for Omega at Forbidden Door as a surprise in the top level, something that they are just going to spring on us? Does that sound like something that they would do, or am I just fantasy booking the hell out of this?
I mean, I think Tony Khan, that is a surprise that would excite him to deliver, right? Just the wrestling fan in him. And it is always a positive, especially when Kenny Omega, as one of your top stars, may not be as happy as he was, a couple years ago, to bring in a friend and give another person to his group there, somebody who he really, loves as a human being. They're really great friends. So that would be something, if you're looking to make peace and to try and, figure out how to I don't know, whatever Tony Khan believes he has to do to appease both sides. This would be a nice one for Omega, and could, possibly be some goodwill as well. Because as we know, contract coming up at the end of this year. So, you can make some concessions here. And I think that would be really cool as well to the fans as it would be for Kenny Omega. What do you think, Scott?
I think it's a possibility. I mean, if he doesn't get Kota, I know CM Punk's in the building. You can bring him out instead. I'm sure that would go over well. Those 2 seemingly are fine between, remember, those are the reports. In all seriousness, though, Kota Ibushi being on the Forbidden Door show, that would be probably as big a surprise as you could have, right? Because of the obvious Kota New Japan situation, along with, just Kota being there in general, Kota being there for Kenny.
Yeah.
Like you said, easing him. It's like easing a lot of situations all at once. I know, it's been pretty quiet on the Kota Ibushi front all of a sudden, which is why I think Jeremy might be on to something. Maybe he's finally said, all right, I may have to stop, talking to whoever and just get ready to get back, because that's how I felt about Kota Ibushi for a while now. I'm like, I don't need to hear you just tease things. Just show up and wrestle. That's what I want to see you do. With the security stuff, I think that's definitely an intriguing case. But I also think Omega's losing, so I don't know.
Oh,
yeah. What do you think, Jeremy?
I thought he was going to be winning this one. For me, the protection for Ospreay is not to win, but the protection for Ospreay in New Japan is to have him lose, because the story for him, I think, is down the line Wrestle Kingdom G1 main event, get the monkey off his back from last year and the New Year Dash promo that he had, where he was just like, I'm giving myself a year to win the big one. Him winning now kind of undercuts that bigger story for the year-long path. And I've been kind of beating that drum personally. But if he were to win, it would also free up the United States title to actually be defended on New Japan shows. And it's only had one title defense since January. This is the second one. It's not ideal. It wasn't ideal when Carl Anderson had the Never Openweight Championship last year. When you have these titles on non-New Japan, like primary wrestlers, there is a cost to it, and it just depends on how much you're willing to spend to make that happen.
Now, so by that, what you just said, that means you do not think that they're going to do the third match at Wembley then?
I've never thought they were going to do the third match at Wembley.
That's interesting.
They might have a tag match or something big where they are involved with each other, but a singles match for Will Ospreay where he comes out victorious this year. For me, I always kind of assume that there might be a big show next year in the UK, and Will Ospreay might potentially be under contract, and that might be a better opportunity to make him the mega star next year rather than this year.
See, in my mind, the hook for Wembley is just him winning a big match there, and beating Kenny would be great. But then when they made this match for Forbidden Door, I was like, wait, so now Kenny's got to win twice so that Will can win the third one. But then how does Will get the next match after losing twice to then win the big one at Wembley? But you don't even think that's going to happen. So that's interesting.
No, I thought he would win at Wrestle Kingdom, win the title, and then Kenny would challenge him for the IWGP title at some point, and Ospreay would defeat him for that title after Omega had beaten him twice for the United States title.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And we all think Okada's beaten Danielson.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it could go the other way, but Okada is the world beater.
Do you sense any surprise? Like, I think, with a card like this and the fact that we understand there are politics involved, it seems like we kind of know all the big matches and how they're going to go. Is there a possibility for any surprises as far as wins and losses, do you think? It seems like a chalk show to me.
The only one that I thought that they might get real crazy with, but I'm just pipe dreaming, is Toni Storm and Willow Nightingale. There isn't so much going on in the women's division that if Toni Storm lost this title right now, that it would ruin a ton of plans. But I also don't think Tony Khan is as committed to Willow Nightingale as the fans want him to be committed to her.
See, what I thought was Willow can lose this match because she could win the Owen if they really want to go forward with her, because she is in the Owen. Britt is on the other side, but Britt doesn't have to win it back to back. It would be nice for someone like Willow to win a tournament like that, because they do have to make another star in the women's division, and she's the one that seems to be most ready out of the younger wrestlers, right? So that'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean that would be interesting if she won that match too. So I don't know. I think there's some good things coming for her. I think Tony sees the reactions that she's getting, and he wants to take advantage of it, because it's sort of like a goodwill reaction versus like the Jade thing is more of like the created thing, right? You have this very impressive looking human, and she can do all this great athletic stuff. So of course, as you build her character up, the fans are just going to embrace that, because we wrestling fans like to see impressive stuff. This has been way more organic. And it's I like to see it when they can reward the organic stuff as well. All right, I think I'm gonna title this. I don't know if I asked 10 questions, but I'm just gonna title it 10 questions. It's possible I did 8 or 9. I'm just gonna 10 just looks better on the title of a podcast. But I really appreciate you guys doing this. Is there one thing that you guys wanted to bring up that I did not bring up as we head into Forbidden Door?
No, I think I got my Coda question and the vibe that one, and that was really the one I wanted to ask you guys.
I was gonna make a Stardom comment, but I won't. I'll hold back. I'll be good. I won't say anything. I think it's good though that they have 2 women's matches on the show. I think getting Athena on there is very cool. I think Athena has done very good work on a Ring of Honor show that not enough people probably are watching to know that she's doing great work. I think she deserves to get the push up to AEW eventually. So that's very nice that they got her on there. And Billy Stark's obviously gigantic spot for her.
Yeah.
Biggest spot of her career. She'll lose, but hey, she's still on there.
Nick Wayne gets so much attention, but Billy Starks is kind of the female version of Nick Wayne in the sense that someone who's not old enough to necessarily be a pro wrestler, who is kind of against the grain growing into a pro wrestler, and she's going to get a nice little shot here.
If Billy had a match with someone like a Will Ospreay, like Nick Wayne did, I think it would, maybe she'd be talked about just as much. But, unless she wrestles, I don't even know. Unless she wrestles Mercedes Moné, that's my probably best example tomorrow.
Yeah, true.
I don't think she's gonna get that much, but I think she's one of the best prospects in women's wrestling. So it's cool to see her get that spot at 18. Isn't Nick Wayne like debuting next month?
Yeah, soon.
2-3 weeks, right? July 10th or something like that.
Yeah. Very interesting. So Scott E Wrestling on Twitter. Anything else you wanna mention before we get out of here?
I don't know if I have any more plugs. I think I did them all in the middle of the show.
I wanted to get through them in the middle so that people heard them.
Make sure to hear my review for the Stardom show this weekend. They have 2 cage matches, pretty unique concept for them. That'll be a lot of fun. So make sure to subscribe to the Patreon. And I think I'm gonna have an interview out this week actually with Dragon Gate Shun Skywalker. That'll be over on Fightful.com. He's kind of a big deal, and they have their major show this coming weekend on July 2nd, Kobe Pro Wrestling Festival. So that's pretty cool. But otherwise, yeah, I'll be on the. Oh, can I say the Power Bomb show? I will.
Don't tell Sam.
I won't be on it. Nudge, nudge. I'll be on it.
Well, one thing I'll mention this here. I haven't mentioned this anywhere else, but for our Patreon, I want to do a getting to know your podcaster series, and I think Scott is going to be first. I think we've kind of we'll figure that out, and it'll just be me, kind of getting a little information about the person who does the 5-Star Joshi show every week that folks listen to, and so I want to do that with pretty much everybody. I want to, not that that's necessarily going to drive a ton of more people to subscribe, but I think for the people who listen to those shows, getting to know Scott E after hearing his voice for, these last few years, that I think that'll be really fun. And I may even ask folks for questions and such. So I think that'll be a fun little project for this summer. And, we'll make it all the way through, including Jeremy, who does the YouTube stuff for us. He doesn't currently have a show that goes on Patreon, but he is part of the network, and I consider Patreon like, it's part of the whole circle there. So at Jer, at Jer Finestone on Twitter. What else do you want to plug?
Not much. I will be joining the Boom with my partner Stephen Conway to do our review with them, the AEW New Japan show's joint review on Monday, dropping on Tuesday, and then we'll have our live show that airs every Tuesday, 5:15 Eastern, 2:15 Pacific, and we'll talk about whether Bullet Club reunited after all is said and done, or if it's still just a feud state. Everybody hates each other in Bullet Club because Bullet Club is not fine.
Yeah, with the G1 coming, you guys are going to be really, really busy too.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of stuff to watch. One other thing I should mention is we're actually going to add. So the original idea for this was I wanted to get up to one show every day of the week. But because of, we had a surplus of good content, we actually have 2 shows on Tuesday. So the Boom is one of them, In the Clinch is the other. So we technically have 8 shows a week for the free network. I'm gonna add a 9th only because just this week, it's not gonna be a regular thing. We'll do a reaction show to Forbidden Door Sunday evening, at about a half an hour after the show ends, because I'll be at Big Dave's with Jeremy, and I'll need to drive home to start this show. Right now, it's myself and Paul Fontaine who have decided to do it. We may add somebody else, but that will also be in the free feed. So Sunday night, Monday morning, you will have that immediate AEW New Japan Forbidden Door recap reaction show. And then on Tuesday, like Jeremy said, you'll have like that 1 day later analysis that James B. McDaniel, Kevin Ely, Jeremy, and Steven will provide. So there you go. That is it's going to be a busy summer. Money in the Bank is next week, and then we kick into high gear on All In, and it sounds like All Out may be at the United Center this year, which is a bigger, not the same building as that smaller building that they usually do. So this is going to be a crazy summer. We will keep everybody with some audio for them, with them every day. And I hope that everybody enjoys what we got planned. It's going to be fun. Thank you to both of you for staying up. I really appreciate it. You guys are warriors for me here doing this show. Just so people know, we're recording this Friday evening. It goes out Saturday morning, but Friday evening. So Jeremy's got like 3 hours of sleep in him before he's got to go to work. Scott is just got some napping coming up. So hopefully you guys are fresh by the Forbidden Door and we can all enjoy it. So for Scott, for Jeremy, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace.